Major funding for this program provided by the Moving Image Trust Fund. Additional funding for this program provided by the Arkansas Agriculture Department.
Hello, I'm Tony Brooks, and this is Agri Arkansas. Today, cotton in Arkansas, the complete farm experience, and Arkansas's first legal distillery since Prohibition. Our guest, Bill Robertson, Cotton Extension Agronomist with the University of Arkansas Department of Agriculture, and Ruth Pepler of Dogwood Hills Guest Farm. Cotton and Arkansas have a long history together. At one time, it was the cash crop for the natural state. Today, though, it is not unusual to pass more than one abandoned cotton gin in a day drive through the Delta. Let's take a closer look now at cotton in Arkansas.
Some farmers, they love to grow cotton because it's a different challenge every year. No 2 years are the same. I know I visit with farmers that are getting close to retirement, and they say, Bill, you know, you might think I've had 40 years experience growing cotton, but I've had 40 experiences growing cotton. Because it seems like every year is different. You have different challenges every year.
Cotton is king. But there was a day when few people believed that cotton would...
Looking at the history of cotton, cotton has been important for Arkansas for a long time. You go quite a few years back and it's a lot different than it is now. There was a time, and everybody's heard the word cash crop. The reason they call it a cash crop is there was a lot of times, like taxman, you had to give him cash. You had to pay cash. Like, you know, most people on the farm, they had eggs, they had milk, they had cheese, they could barter a lot of things. But there were some things you had to have cash for. And so cotton was their cash crop. Because, you know, a lot of times when they grew corn and they grew other crops, they needed corn to feed the mules. They saved some for seed, and they had to feed their stock, and they had to have forage for their stock. But with cotton, we don't eat the lint. You can't feed it to hogs, and really can't feed it to chickens and things like that. And so cotton was the crop that they grew for cash. So if you look, there's 75 counties in Arkansas. At one time, we grew cotton in every county in Arkansas. Still, you can drive through the country up in the hills in the Ozarks, and you can see old cotton gins. So cotton was very important. And it stayed a very important crop until Mr. Boll Weevil came in. And when the boll weevil came in out from Mexico up to Texas, there were times that they did not make a crop because the boll weevil got all their cotton because we didn't know what to do. Because we didn't have pesticides and things like that. But when the boll weevil came in, that up the river valley and all that, they just went completely out of cotton because they couldn't make any money with cotton. You know, cotton furnished a lot of jobs for people, and when we lost that, it was difficult on the economy because people had to look for work doing other things. So, but cotton is kind of a very intensive crop as far as labor is concerned until we got into the mechanization. You know, when we got into the late 40s and the 50s, we started getting cotton pickers. But I've heard some of the reports that when those cotton pickers first come out, one mechanical cotton picker would replace 150 people. In Arkansas, cotton and rice pay the bills.
Cotton has been, well, it's made me what I am. You know, we've grown it for several years, and we used to be 100% grain farmers, but we did get in the cotton business and started gradually growing and doing better, and I feel like it's, you know, it's helped us definitely. But we're in this range right now. If you don't yield really good, you cannot possibly make a profit on it. It's so expensive to raise. You know, that's the thing. If we had input prices we did say 5-10 years ago, well, yeah, we could come along. We could go right on through this thing and keep going. But fertilizer is high, seed is high, tech fees just eat us alive. It just goes on and on. We're in a bad plant bug area here. It's nothing to spray 5, 7, 8 times for plant bugs. For sure 5. I mean, just plan on that, we do. And it's about like driving down the road and throwing dollar bills out the window in cotton because you spend it so fast. It can bring it back, you know, if you got a good crop, you got a decent price, but you put a lot of money in it. You sure do.
I farm mostly cotton. About 2/3 of my land is farmed in cotton. You know, I've been growing cotton for all my life, and everybody on the farm is excited when those cotton bolls start to open and the leaves start to drop. It's a great time. When cotton emerges, it's so delicate. So many things can happen to thin the stand of cotton. The winds blow and it can, just look for ways to die on you. So you really have to take care of it. You really have to watch for insects that might come in and try to thrive on the cotton plants that are there. So we have to manage insect populations. And of course, weeds are always ready to take over a field. So we have to be very careful with what we do to manage weed pressure and make sure none of the pesticides that we use are harmful to the plant. Cotton harvesting has really evolved into a much easier operation than it used to be. Now we can use the baler pickers to wrap the seed cotton as it comes off the machine, and those bales are staged on the turn row for the trucks to pick up and transport to the gin. So the farmer's really through with his part of the harvesting transport when it is put on the end of the field. The gin will pick up the cotton, but the baler pickers have really transformed that. It's we can do with 3 men now what it used to take 12.
If you go back and look at 2 years ago, we were at an all-time record low in terms of harvested acres. Last year, that was in 2016. Boll weevil eradication people had us pegged at 366,000 harvested acres. I think FSA had us 375 or 380,000 acres. If you look at total production, we produced about 850,000 bales. Our lint yield on an acre basis was around 1,050 pounds. So if you look where Arkansas ranks in with other states, we're generally, if you look at yield per acre, Arkansas the last 2 years has generally ranked 3 or 4 because we have a high percent of our cotton in Arkansas is irrigated. Compare that to Mississippi. Mississippi has more acres, but their percent irrigation is less. And we irrigate cotton to try to help stabilize our yields. If you look at the number of acres and the number of bales that we produce, year in, year out, generally we're about 4th or 5th place in rank with all the states in the nation. But we're still, Arkansas is a significant player in terms of cotton production in the U.S.
It's worked for me, but I can't ignore the fact that we're down to just 1 or 2 gins in the area. But it's cotton is still king in my heart. I grew up loving cotton. My dad owned a cotton gin. My great-grandfather on my mother's side were cotton ginners, and my wife's family was cotton ginners. So it's just kind of in my blood. But I enjoy it. It is a big challenge, but it's so rewarding when you overcome a lot of those challenges and fight off weeds and insects and hot, dry days to see a good crop come to fruition.
The Pepler family in Harriet, Arkansas wants to offer everyone the opportunity to work on a farm. A stay at the Dogwood Hills Guest Farm can give you and your family an up-close look at life on a farm, from gathering eggs to hand-milking cows to helping prepare dinner and relaxing by a fire under the stars. This is one way to really get back in touch with where your food comes from.
Dogwood Hills is located in north central Arkansas, just a couple of minutes from the Buffalo National River and the Buffalo National Forest. We have an agritourism farm here. We have a guest farm where we have people come from all over the country and they come and stay with us on the farm. They get a backstage tour of what actually happens on a real working farm. Most of our guests stay at the cottage up on the hill there. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, really nice setup for a family. And in the morning, they come down, they do chores with us, they learn how to milk, they learn how to make butter, collect eggs from the chickens, help feed the goats. They'll feed the dairy cows. A lot of people don't get hands-on a dairy anymore because not too many people hand milk. We do use a machine on occasion, but most of our milking is by hand. The guests get a chance to get in there and try it if they want to. If we have little kids, a lot of times we'll just use the goats. It's a lot safer, but when the parents are there and things are going on, then we're able to get a lot of them get a hands-on feel of what it is to milk a dairy cow. And we've had all sorts of reactions running the gamut. So there's a whole bunch of animals on the farm. Most of the animals on the farm have a purpose. Trinity is the proverbial farm dog. She's deaf mostly, blind in one eye, and she's just kind of hanging in there, but she's a good companion, and she kind of just stays with everybody all day. We have approximately 20 dairy goats. They're very hands-on friendly. They like to be hand-fed. A lot of them go to the show. My daughter Grace took a bunch of them to State Fair this past year, did really well. We have 8 dairy cows, 3 of them are in milk right now. We have a mid-mini Jersey bull. We have 2 sheep, they're fiber sheep, and we have them shorn. We just put that up on Facebook, the last shearing that we had done, and we have the 2 of them done, and then Grace spins the wool, and she does felted animals to sell off the farm. And then we have a donkey who just hangs out with the sheep. And then the biggest thing here we have is the livestock guardian dogs. We run 5 of them right now because we have a pretty thick coyote population. They keep the animals safe, they run the perimeter, and they basically stay with the animals they're in charge of. When we're having babies, the dogs are right there taking care of the moms and the babies and making sure everything runs smoothly. We also have about 90 laying hens that'll be used for dinners, breakfast, everything on the farm. Our guests come down, they get about a dozen eggs a day, however many they need. And then we have the silkies, which are more docile. They like to be handled and things like that, so people can interact with them. And we have a trio of showbirds, Americanas, purebred out of Texas, and they're the newest arrivals on the farm. We started out with guests. The average drive to stay here is about 8 to 12 hours. So they were coming in a good radius, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, some Kansas. We're getting really good feedback on the farm stay because people like the fact that it's real life. It's not rehearsed, it's different every day. If something's happening on the farm, they're right there in the middle of it, and a lot of times it's really good fun stuff. Every now and then something goes wrong on the farm, and they see that too. It's not hidden from them, it's explained to them. If we have kids here, we get a lot of parents that come in and ask, about, oh, can you explain this whole thing with the animals to my kids? And we're like, okay, sure, how much do you want them to know? Well, we just want them to be observant on a farm. I said, okay, fine. So we get a lot of that. Last year we had 2 families from Australia come through. One of them was on a world tour and had taken the year off, was traveling all over the place, and they had seen all of the major tourist attractions in the United States, and they booked the farm stay for a few days, and they stayed here and really to regroup their family. They had seen a lot of touristy stuff, and so we sit here at the campfire at night, and there's no lights around. The stars, or the Milky Way, is right overhead, and the stars are brilliant. And we sit here talking, and they said to us, we've seen everything in the United States that there is to see, the list of things that you need to see. She's like, but this is real life. This is real America, and this is what we really wanted to know. The heartbeat of the farm here is the community. All of the things that we do on our everyday, all the things that we do to bring in revenue here are really to keep the community things that we have going. We have our 4-H group. We have a lot of barn dances, things like that, to bring the youth together. We're in a really rural area, and there's not a whole lot of activity for people, and the kids need stuff to do. So we open up the barn for social events for them. We do a potluck on Sundays twice a month, the 2nd and 4th Sunday, and we have people come from up to an hour away. A lot of the people that come to our potluck don't have family in the area. They're like us, they've moved in, and we started doing Sunday dinners because that's really important to us. Sitting at the table for a meal is really the root of what happens here. No matter what you're doing, you're going to sit and have a meal. You know, it kind of, and it's not just the food, it's the fellowship. People don't take time anymore just to sit at dinner and talk and relate to each other. And that here is probably the most important thing. So Sunday dinners, it's spread out, everybody comes, they bring stuff, and we all just sit and visit.
Arkansas's first legal distillery since Prohibition has found that Arkansas grains and other locally sourced agricultural products can help win awards. Take a look.
We're in Little Rock, Arkansas at Rocktown Distillery, the first legal distillery in Arkansas since Prohibition. Here in downtown Little Rock, just south of the Heifer International Building and the Clinton Library. We use Arkansas grains to distill award-winning spirits, one small batch at a time. There's a concept in whiskey where the grains that you use from a local area have an influence on the flavor. So I'm a big believer in using locally sourced grains so that we can make it a true Arkansas whiskey. We use corn from Arkansas, wheat from Arkansas to distill into fine whiskeys, vodka, and a little bit of moonshine too. Our biggest grain that we use is corn. So our bourbon is 82% corn, 9% wheat, and 9% malted barley. And that comes from the Stovall Brothers farm in the Arkansas River Valley just south of Blackwell. We take it to a company down in Stuttgart called Stratton Seed, where they clean and bag it for us, and then we bring it in here and make whiskey out of it. The wheat just comes from Stratton Seed. They supply that for us. It's Arkansas soft red winter wheat that's grown during the winter grow time. So it's a great grain, and we use that as the middle grain in our bourbon. So it's pretty cool to actually know the farmers that grow the grain that we use to make our bourbon whiskey. We have really good grains grown here because we've been able to win U.S. Micro Whiskey of the Year in Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible. We've been able to get a double gold medal in San Francisco, Best Bourbon at the World Whiskey Awards in London, England, all using locally sourced grains, distilling, aging it here locally, bottling it here locally to be Arkansas bourbon whiskey. This is wheat that we've got from our Arkansas farmers, and we're milling it now to a nice flour or grist. We're going to take that grist and put it here in the cooker where it's going to cook for about 3.5 hours, and then we're going to pump it over here to the fermenters where it'll ferment for 3 days. So this is where all the magic happens. This is our 250-gallon solid copper pot still that was custom made for us up in Louisville, Kentucky. It's heated by steam. There's a steam jacket down there at the bottom. Distillation works because alcohol has a lower boiling point than water. The vapors rise through the column, go over to the condenser where they're condensed back to liquid, and we collect them in the receiving tank. At the end of the distillation run, we take the spent mash and we pump that into a tote and we give that to a farmer, and he feeds his cows with it. So he has happy cows. So this is a hydrometer that measures the alcohol, and currently we're distilling at about, 70 proof or so. At the end of that, we'll take that alcohol and put it back in the still to be redistilled one more time to become bourbon whiskey. For a whiskey to be called a bourbon whiskey, it has to be aged in a new charred oak barrel. The best barrels are made from wood that comes from the Ozarks. So we use Ozark wood exclusively. They're coopered either in Hot Springs at a little company called Gibbs Brothers Cooperage, a 4th generation cooper down in Hot Springs, but we do also get some from southern Missouri and Kentucky. Now, the inside of these bourbon barrels are all charred. Basically, the cooper sets the inside of the barrel on fire, and that's what gives all the color in whiskey, that beautiful amber color, and most of the flavor comes from the char on the inside of the barrel. We'd love to have you come down, learn how we make whiskey. We have a tasting room where you can try everything that we make and hopefully take some home with you.
Joining us now is Bill Robertson, Cotton Extension Agronomist with the University of Arkansas Department of Agriculture, and Ruth Pepler of Dogwood Hills Guest Farm. Bill, I want to start with you. Even with the dramatic drop in cotton production in recent years, Arkansas still is a major producer of cotton in the U.S.
Tony, that's correct. You know, we still rank about fourth in production across the U.S.
What states rival Arkansas in U.S. cotton production?
You know, Texas has so many acres, and they produce the lion's share of the cotton. But Georgia is close behind them, and Mississippi is ahead. And those are usually the ones that rank above us in terms of production.
Are U.S. producers facing increased competition from foreign countries like, say, China?
Yeah, you know, when you, as far as cotton's concerned, when you look at competition, other countries that produce cotton really aren't our competition. Our competition is man-made fiber. And we have a lot of, there's strong competition with man-made fiber, especially with cheaper oil prices and such. Cotton Incorporated, the producers' checkoff monies go to them, and they help with promotions and research. And they do a very good job of helping to promote cotton, to increase or to maintain just consumption of cotton to help keep the market for cotton alive.
When we compare Arkansas-grown cotton with cotton grown in other states or even cotton produced overseas, grade-wise, how do we fare? Is Arkansas cotton premium fiber?
Yeah, when you look at U.S. cotton, and Arkansas is right there with U.S. cotton, but U.S. cotton has a reputation for being quality cotton and cotton with very little contamination. Contamination are big issues that you have in other countries, but the U.S. as a whole, and Arkansas especially, are, you know, they're noted for high quality cotton and low contamination.
You know, you're talking about something. I grew up on a cotton farm, so one of the most difficult things for me to ever explain to people was, where does that cotton go when it leaves the gin? Now, a lot of people that live even in a cotton producing area knows, okay, it goes to the compress, but after that, what happened?
Yeah, you know, used to the bales from the gin were still really big and not very dense, and it took up a lot of room on a ship for not much weight, so they went to a compress. Now they come out of a gin that way, and they go to a warehouse. Usually they're staged there until they're sold, and it's so different now as compared to say 30 years ago on how cotton flows from the gin to our final consumer, to the textile mill. Now we have intermodal systems. The cotton goes to a warehouse. It's set there till it's sold. It's loaded on the containers. We see the shipping containers down the highway all the time. Cotton is loaded on the shipping containers, and it gets on a train, and the train gets to the port at the same time the ship does, and it's loaded straight from the train to the ship. Used to it changed warehouses many times, and there were a lot of unloading fees and loading fees at warehouses.
And cotton production has become much more scientific, and we've talked a little bit about that with dealing with challenges like boll weevils and cutworms to plant regulators now, so the cotton opens at the same time, and there's not a second picking anymore.
Right.
So it's evolving quickly.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of technology, and a lot of it is that we're just helping synchronize things that occur naturally in a plant to happen at one time. We're not really changing a lot of things, but we're just helping Mother Nature do her thing all at one time to synchronize that. Really
quickly, what's the greatest innovation in cotton production in the last 30 years?
You know, in the last 30 years, the greatest innovation, you know, I would have to say our ability to eradicate the boll weevil. I think that is probably done more to keep cotton sustainable in the U.S. As anything we've done. You know, improvement in genetics, improvement in our technology, our harvesting, and our technology associated with all that. But you have to grow it first.
That's
and I think boll weevil eradication would have to be pretty close to the top on my list.
Very good. Ruth, I want to switch gears just a minute and talk about a different kind of agriculture tourism. And you and your family moved to Arkansas from New Jersey, where there is more agritourism. How is it different in New Jersey than in Arkansas?
Well, I think the agritourism in New Jersey has been there for decades and has really been well established. It is the Garden State. They cover just about every kind of agritourism venture you could possibly want to have. And most of the kids grow up going to some sort of agritourism field trips for school or anything like that. So it's very much a part of our lives. Even the kids that are in the city, it's not so far to go to an agritourism field trip for them either. So they get a lot more exposure to it, I think.
I'm going to jump ahead here just a minute, but the people that visit your farm obviously are having a great time, and they're learning.
Yeah.
You're involved in a movement to create an agritourism association in Arkansas. Tell me a little bit about that, and what other types of agriculture would lend themselves to agritourism?
Wow. Well, one of the reasons we're trying to create the Agritourism Association is that we'd like to bring more agritourism to Arkansas, to help farmers that are currently doing agriculture to make that transition, to bring them into the tourism industry. There's a lot of things to consider and a lot of hurdles to get over, so if we can help lay that out for them. We established our farm to do agritourism, so we kind of set it up as a model. There are so many opportunities. We're trying to incorporate every aspect of farming and find out how we can bring in the tourism aspect of it to all different kinds, the field crop farming and as well as the hands-on, the U-picks, orchards, vineyards, all of those things are part of that.
It's amazing to me, and you said that the average drive for your guests to Dogwood Hills is 8 to 12 hours, and you do families that are looking for the experience or even retreats.
Right.
What are people looking for when they come? What do they want to experience?
They want to understand, I think on a whole, how things happen on a farm. They're about 2 generations removed from that process. They remember stories their grandma told them, or the grandparents are coming and bringing the grandkids saying, we used to do this, we know what hard work is like, you know, so it's a whole different experience for them. We do take one family at a time. We have a private farmhouse that they stay in, and as we look to expand, we did not want to lose the intimacy of having one family experience farm life with us. So we kept it as one cottage on the farm, and then we're opening up for group tours during the day to bring more people in to have them understand what's done on a farm, but not to lose the intimacy of that single family coming and experiencing the farm.
Okay. We're almost out of time, but the products that you produce, do you market those in addition to having the guests? Is that a business for you at Dogwood Hills?
We sell fresh farm eggs and milk directly from the farm, but my daughter does fiber animals that she makes from her sheep. She does little felted animals that she can sell, and we do a lot of handcrafts that'll be available on our store for the guests.
Very interesting. Both, thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
And we hope you'll come back again.
Thank you very much.
That's all the time we have for today. You can find past episodes of Agri Arkansas online at aetn.org/Agri Arkansas. And if you have a story idea, we'd love to hear it. Drop us an email at agri@aetn.org. We'll see you next time.
Major funding for this program provided by the Moving Image Trust Fund. Additional funding for this program provided by the Arkansas Agriculture Department.